Hey, how's it going? It's Sam Frost here, back with another video from my Easy PPC Tutorials series. In this series, basically what I'm trying to do is just really help business owners and marketing managers and anyone who's looking to look after PPC advertising on platforms like Google Ads, basically make it easier for you to do a good job of that yourself. And in this video, what we're going to be doing is answering the question of how much should you spend on Google Ads. So really common question I get asked, in my day-to-day work as a marketing consultant is, hey, we're looking to do Google Ads, but we don't know how much we should be spending. What's a good amount to spend? So in this video, we're going to answer that question. We're going to look at ad spend. We're going to look at management, what you should be spending, to have your ads managed if you're not going to be doing it yourself. We're going to look at some tips to help you get better value from Google Ads. So can we basically squeeze more juice out of every digital lemon you have, so to speak? And then we're going to come to a conclusion as well. So let's dive into it. So what is the answer as to how much you should spend on Google Ads? Well, it all depends, that might seem like a bit of a cop-out answer, but it really is the truth. It very much depends, and allow me to elaborate further. So really, when it comes to ad spend, there's a few things you have to get your head around. The first is that the key factor is your ad spend itself. So that's how much you pay to Google. If you've got a budget of, let's say $1,000 a month, how much of that do you actually want to pay to Google? And then you also have to be realistic in your budget assessment. So, it's covering a large city, Auckland or Christchurch even, for anything for $50 a month is not going to cut it. But maybe if your budget is literally just $50 a month, well, could you focus on, one suburb and one keyword? So if you're a plumber in Christchurch and your best work comes from Hoon Hay, which is a suburb here in Christchurch, could you run, an ad for plumber Hoon Hay and, a plumber Christchurch or plumbing or whatever the keyword is, or a couple of keywords happen to be focused on that one suburb, and maybe make a little bit of a dent and just test the waters? It is possible with Google Ads to start small and scale. You don't have to go and throw big amounts of money in. Obviously, the more money you've got to spend, the easier it is to start seeing results, the easier it is to get data for testing and so on and so forth. But, I have genuinely seen businesses do okay with small budgets and look to scale up. And obviously, you've got to be careful with how you spend your money, right? You don't want to blow your money too recklessly. You have to consider your cash flow as well. What do you actually have available? It might be potentially that you could run a really successful campaign that brings a whole lot of leads in the door. But if your sales cycle is 6 months or a year, or, as some businesses are that really take a long time, maybe even if your campaigns are really successful, your cash flow still won't be in a position where you could support higher ad spend. So, without knowing the financials of your business, and I'm not an accountant or anything like that, I can't tell you how much ad spend to actually put on the table, but have a think about what you want to pay to Google. What can you actually afford to spend each month? And remember that you can start conservatively and scale up. What are your objectives? Have a think about that as well. Are you looking just to get brand awareness in the marketplace? Are you looking to get phone calls? Are you looking to get people buying a product directly online through a shopping cart? Think about all those kind of things. That's really important to get your head around, because depending on what your objectives are, your potential ad spend might change as well. Another thing you have to think about too, if you're not looking to manage your own Google Ads spend, is management. So when I talk about ad spend before, one thing that I find catches a few business owners out is they'll come to me and they'll say, oh, well, look, I've got $1,000 a month to spend on Google Ads advertising. And whether they want me to manage it, or oftentimes they're looking at, a freelance or an agency or something like that. Anyone who's going to do a professional job at managing your ad spend is going to take a cut one way or another. So you have to factor that into the equation as well. Is your ad spend $1,000 with management to come on top of that, or is your total budget $1,000? And in that case, you might wind up spending much less on ad spend because you're going to have to spend some management. If you do DIY Google Ads management, and you can, I'll leave a link to the video I put together on whether or not you can actually succeed with DIY Google Ads management. There's no monetary cost. There's obviously a time cost, and that might in turn flow onto a monetary cost if it's taking away from you doing other activities in your business. But there are some big caveats. I've seen do-it-yourself advertisers waste just crazy money, on poorly set up campaigns and ads. PPC marketing, Google Ads marketing can be really time consuming. Maybe your time's better spent, hitting the phones or working on product development or following up on sales leads or whatever other things you could be doing within your business. There is a steep learning curve as well, and you're definitely going to lose some money to start with. And you could, depending on how well you execute on your campaign setup, you could wind up losing money sort of ongoing as well. Even, to be honest, even the best optimized Google Ads campaigns out there, there's always things in them that can be tweaked. So you do need to bear that in mind. And one thing you have to think about as well with this is the sort of cost of ad spend versus the cost of management and what a good balance is. This is a really hard question to answer actually because it's so dependent. But I've seen a huge variation. So I've seen, if we use that $1,000 budget example, let's say that your total budget for Google Ads, including management, is $1,000. That's all you can do. You can't do any more. I've seen, some people, find maybe like a freelancer who's working independently at a lower rate, and they might do an okay job at managing it for, $200 a month. Or on the other hand, an agency might want as much or more in ads in management fee as you've actually got an ad spend. So striking that balance is really, really hard. What I would say here is if you're watching this video and you're not really sure what that balance should be, do feel free to get in touch with me. You can leave a comment with your details. You can email me on info@samfrost.co.nz. I'd be glad to just give you some pointers. It really does, it really is important. So moving on, looking at getting good value from Google Ads advertising, cost doesn't necessarily equal value. So, you might go out and you might find the cheapest possible Google Ads manager for your account, and you might have a really small budget, and you're thinking, hey, I'm doing all right because I'm getting advertising out there without spending much. But as I say here, cost doesn't equal value. So how do you actually get good value from Google Ads? Well, the first thing you really need to do is understand what a conversion, so that's a lead or a sale, is worth to your business. So, if you know that a lead for your business is worth, say, $100 on average when you factor in how many leads you turn into sales and, sales cycles and average customer value and all that kind of stuff, if you know that, a lead is really worth about $100, a well-qualified lead is worth $100, then pretty much if you're able to get leads through Google Ads for less than $100, well, it's good value, right? Because you're actually profitable on those leads, at least from a mathematical sense. It doesn't always work out like that, but it is good to know. It's even easier in some respects to calculate with a product sale through something like an online checkout process. If you know that you sell a product that costs $1,000 and you run a 20% margin on it, so you're making $200 per sale every time someone buys that product online. These are just random numbers I'm pulling out of the top of my head, by the way. Well, you know that you can basically spend up to that $200 to make that sale. Maybe you've got a good funnels kind of system or upselling or cross-selling system, and you might even be happy to lose money, in the short term on the front of the funnel and make it up down the track as well. But getting good value and understanding what you should really be spending on advertising, I think this is the piece you really have to get right. You have to know what a sale or a lead is worth to your business, and then you want to try and optimize for that. If you can get conversions for less than what you make off a lead or a sale, then you're in the black, so to speak. Obviously, there are exceptions, and that there are different sort of formulas for looking at all this kind of stuff. But I'm just trying to introduce you to the general concept here, because what I will sometimes do is encounter a potential Google Ads advertiser who's going into it with the mindset of, I just want to get lots of people seeing and clicking my ads. I want to get people knowing I'm out there. And if your entire goal is brand awareness, and sometimes depending on the marketplace you're in and how you're looking to grow your business over time, focusing on some brand awareness, I think, is a really good thing. I mean, I just read an article the other day about Adidas, big company who, they admitted themselves they've actually undervalued the sort of potential that brand building has to play for too much of this, I need to spend $1 and immediately see $2 back kind of advertising that digital has pushed us towards. But I think overall for most business owners, especially small to medium business owners, you want to know that for every $1 you're spending, you're getting $1.50 or $2 or $3 back. So what you want to do once you understand this as well, whether you're managing your Google Ads yourself or you've got someone else working on it for you, you want to work diligently to sort of reduce what you're wasting but retain or improve performance. So if your lead's worth $100 for you to your business, and then at the moment you're getting them for $80 through Google Ads. Well, if you can cut that down to 75 or 70 or 60, and depending on how everything's structured, that may well be possible, or suddenly you're starting to eke way more value out of your ad spend. And then you might reach a point where really the only way to scale is by spending more, but that's okay as well. So what you want to do is make sure when you're doing Google Ads, you're utilizing all of the features at your disposal to basically try and get more conversions for less money. So in conclusion, how much should you spend on Google Ads? Well, this depends on a few key factors. It depends on the cash flow you've got in your business. You know, if you can literally only spare $100 cash a month to advertise because your cash flow's tight, well, you know, you've got to face the realities of what you're dealing with. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. So if you are struggling to work that out, I think you need to talk to the professionals in that regard and get a bit of guidance from them. You need to understand what a lead or a sale is worth to you, because if you can get leads or sales for less than that cost, you should be in the black, as I said. You need to understand that sort of profit margin and all that kind of stuff as well. Basically it's all about trying to get profitable sales. You want to have a good grasp on your sales cycle too. This is something that can catch people out. It's not so much of an issue often in things like online retail, where people tend to buy faster. The sales cycle is shorter. But I do a lot of work with business-to-business companies, for example, and they can have sales cycles of months, sometimes even into the years. And that means that you might be paying often quite a bit for a lead up front. And then you've kind of got to sit on them and nurture them for quite a long time before they actually turn into money in the bank. And as I mentioned before, with the cash flow issue, that's something you really have to get your head around, because of course, you might be getting all these leads, but if you've got a cash flow crunch, has that advertising done you much good? So, it's something you do need to bear in mind. You want to have a think about ad spend versus management cost. That's not so relevant if you're going to manage it all yourself, but do also think about whether DIY management is actually worth it for you as well. And make sure you focus on getting good value ultimately. You want to be able to look at the bigger picture. It might not be broken down on each granular campaign you run, but the bigger picture being, last month I spent $1,000 on Google Ads, including management or, excluding management, or however you want to look at it. But I spent $1,000 and I made, $3,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is of potential business back in the door. And so, I'm profitable on my advertising. I could get way more into the specifics of this, but really what I'm trying to do is just get your head around the higher level concept that's really important to understand. So hopefully you found that helpful. If you're stuck, if you need more personalized advice, do feel free, as I said earlier, to get in touch with me. There's a few ways you can do that. You can email me on info@samfrost.co.nz. You can go to samfrost.co.nz and you can send a message through the contact form on there. And just because it's a .co.nz domain, I work with clients in Australia, United States, UK, all over the world. So don't feel like you have to be NZ based. You can also call me. My phone number is 021 027 81721 or +6421 027 81721 if you are calling from overseas outside of New Zealand. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Hopefully you find these videos helpful. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.